Hey everyone, before I get into the news, I wanted to announce that I am now over on Threads. I've joined at Morris T. Merrier. Again, that's Morris T. Merrier. Please consider giving me a follow. I want to extend the community over there. I want to have some good discussion over there. I want to discuss the news over there. But yeah, speaking of the news, what's been going on with ICE? Well, Trump supporters have been weaponizing some of these attacks on ICE. I think a couple months ago, there was one in Boulder, Colorado, and now there was another shooting at ICE agents. So Trump supporters are saying, oh, the rhetoric caused this. There was all this mean rhetoric. They were comparing them to the Gestapo, and they were saying they were authoritarian and fascistic. And I got to give a lot of leftists credit. They aren't backing down and pointing out that the ICE is acting like the Gestapo. We simply cannot turn down the volume when, some people might do bad things with it. Some people might be bad. Well, look, it's wrong. It's wrong, obviously, to attack people. It's wrong to physically accost people over politics. But at the same time, we have to point out that what's going on is unacceptable and unprecedented. Remember how ICE, under the Trump administration, the first time, they were pretty bad. Back under Obama, they kind of flew under the radar, although there were a lot of deportations under Obama. And then the president before that, George W. Bush, is actually when ICE was founded, 2003. 2003, they started ICE, March 2003. We had very decent border protection before that. And so Trump supporters want to act like, oh, they're just doing the important job of protecting our border and enforcing immigration law. What, do you hate law and order or something by criticizing ICE? You think that simply enforcing the law, enforcing the Constitution, enforcing border protection is fascism and authoritarianism? You're going to compare it to Nazi Germany? Well, yes, we can do that. We have free speech, and it's also fairly accurate. Now, is it literally a one-to-one comparison? No, but they really are acting like Trump's secret army, basically. His army that he gets to deploy on anyone. He casually talks about deporting people he doesn't like Elon Musk, possibly Zoran Mamdani. So it's clear that deportation is his weapon of choice, so to speak. So I give a lot of credit to leftists who are saying, yeah, no, we're not gonna cry for ICE agents. Sorry, we're not. Obviously, you don't attack people. You don't attack people over politics. You don't commit political violence. That's wrong. But Republicans are really, really going into overdrive in terms of saying, this is how violent the left is. Look at how violent the left is, when they won't also acknowledge that ICE is being violent. Have you seen what they're doing? They chased a guy off a rooftop and he died back in July. They are insane. So, yeah, and then Stephen Miller is out there accusing Gavin Newsom of inciting violence for simply saying that ICE is acting authoritarian at the behest of an authoritarian government. So it's totally wrong. It's totally depraved, but they will not back down. The far right, they will keep saying, no, don't say bad things about ICE. That's incitement. It's clearly not. You've clearly never heard of Brandenburg versus Ohio if you think that criticizing ICE and calling them fascistic and authoritarian and Gestapo thugs is incitement. Incitement needs to be very, very direct. Time, place. They need to name all those things, not some vague, they're really bad, they're big bad guys. Like, so what? That's not incitement. We have a very strong First Amendment protection for free speech in this country, and it protects what leftists are doing in terms of criticizing ICE. So again, keep criticizing what they're doing. Do not be bullied into silence in terms of like, oh shoot, well, something bad happened this time, so I must turn down the rhetoric. Oh, this must be stochastic terrorism to criticize ICE. I can't keep doing this. No, they're the ones in power. They deserve to be scrutinized. And look, even if we never abolish ICE, hopefully we can draw some attention to what they're doing in terms of, okay, it needs reform. There needs to be a better way. There needs to be accountability. The people who are doing this need to be tried and convicted. Give them a fair trial, of course, and then convict them. And then probably, see what happens with that, create new types of trials for these freaks. Nuremberg style trials for these freaks who are doing this to immigrants. Also, yeah, again, what type of person really joins ICE? I was wondering this, like why, especially under the second Trump term. Maybe under Obama, things seemed a little more innocuous, maybe even under George W. Bush, but now it's like, okay, you want an excuse to bully people, plain and simple. You want an excuse to be a thug, a despicable thug who bullies immigrants. You probably are racist too, by the way. So yeah, that we can infer a lot of things about people who join ICE in the year 2025. I'm sorry to say. And for all the talk about, police need to be abolished, some people say, well, look, police are a necessary evil, but ICE are an unnecessary evil. I get the criticism of police, believe me, I do. But there's not so much this idea of like, oh, I want to terrorize people, so I'm going to become a police officer. That does exist to some extent. But with ICE, oh my God, I don't think there's any way around it. It's very, very difficult to join ICE and come off as someone who's like just a decent, normal person. You're probably not well adjusted. I'm sorry. You probably get off on treating people like complete and utter garbage. So yeah, this is my analysis of these ICE attacks and the right clutching their pearls and ramping up their, basically calls for cracking down on the left and the left not backing down in terms of criticizing ICE. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Again, follow me on Threads, Morris T. Merrier, and I look forward to speaking to you in my next video.